Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Unconventional Therapist Guide to Nothing. My name is Dave. I'm joined here with my co-host Greg. Greg, how you doing today?
I gotta say, Dave, I love doing it in the morning. No one's here. Well, that sounded a little weird, but let's continue. And no one's in the house right now, which is a
Okay.
rare thing for me. And I don't hear any like
Oh,
pitter
you mean this
patters.
the studio lab? No
Feels
one's in the
good.
studio.
No one's in the studio.
Wow,
No
the
one might
studio's
pop down
empty.
from the to the studio to do laundry. So
That's a
it's
good
great.
thing.
I'm doing great today.
Excellent, excellent.
And
Uh,
also,
yeah,
I've been wearing, I got a sweatshirt on right now. Long sleeves.
yes,
Fall is in the air.
yeah.
Slightly.
So Greg, I was vending at that Brimfield Antique Market, which is like
Ah,
the world's largest antique market, I believe, or at least in the
humble
US,
brag.
maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
But I was there this week, and one morning was so frigid cold, and I was like, where did this come from? Because prior to this past week, it's been nothing but hot weather nonstop. I had a I had a sweatshirt on and I just could not get over how cold it was.
My sweatshirt literally has leaves on it. That's how ready for fall I am.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the other piece of this is stores are putting out Halloween. I mean, it's been like a month now that Halloween's
Yeah,
been out in stores. So I think that kind of mentally everybody's already transitioning to fall and we're not even actually in fall yet.
I know.
It's
We try to
crazy.
extend that season. I know I do. For
It's
me,
fast. That's why.
it's fast. It's that stretch of like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas is just my sweet spot. I love
Mm.
it. And if we can kind of extend that a little bit, great. Why not? Extend the beautiful moments. That's what mindfulness is all about, right?
Fall's interesting too. Just one quick thing about that. It's the only season
I
that
prefer
you
autumn.
or autumn. It's the only season that the ending is actually kind of marked. Like we see the colors and the leaves if the leaves change, we see them fall off the trees. And as like, those last few leaves are falling, you actually realize like, wow, it's over.
Mm.
And then winter just hits us. Winter, we don't have that. Winter, we're like, please get warmer. Summer, we're like, please get a little cooler. I mean, spring's pretty quick, but then
Mhm.
I think we're all excited for summer.
I think fall might be the favorite season
Yeah.
for most people.
It's also the one I think that like is kind of depressing if you think about it
It is.
because you dread that it leaving and then what's coming next. So it's a very interesting like psychology for
You know, we have a
that one
built-in
season.
sense of anxiety in the fall because, historically speaking, and from a, evolutionary standpoint, we are preparing for the most dangerous time of the year
Sure.
where people will die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From an evolutionary standpoint, where, if you're not prepared, if you don't have all your ducks in a row, if you don't do the harvest correctly, you're in trouble. But
Yes.
anyways, let's we're getting a little off track on the history of fall. What do you want to talk about next? Soups and flannel, candles.
Summer summer leaves, winter longs. That's
Is that
a quote
you writing a
I
poem?
yes. It's on a train bridge in graffiti in Syracuse. And I always like see that and I'm like, wow, that's actually really good.
That stuck with you, huh? Say that again one more time.
Summer leaves, winter longs.
That's pretty deep. I like
It
that a
is.
lot,
It is.
you know? So anyways, well, all that to say, it's time to get a little more spooky, and a whole lot of creepy, I think, with this. This really is creepy to me, this topic. And it reminds me of things that I love so much, um, you know, in Scooby-Doo or other kind of, I don't know, it's a trope in horror movies where you get the eyes behind the painting watching you as you walk by,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
There's voyeurism in this. Secret passages are sort of a part of this. And that's something that like, a lot of houses have like here in New England too. I remember when I was a kid, I went to like the House of Seven Gables and they would talk about how like these big, you know, well-to-do houses would have parallel hallways that no one could see where like, workers and slaves in some cases would
Sure.
be. That's just like wildly creepy to me. And today we're going to be talking about Phrogging with a PH, which, we'll come to define that in a little bit. But Dave, to me, this kind of came to me rewatching something that I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that you have some familiarity with.
The boy.
No,
Oh,
The Boy.
yeah. You know, with the doll,
Oh, isn't that based on Robert the
Robert the
Doll?
doll. Yeah, yeah,
So no, I
yeah.
wasn't going
Okay.
to say that. I was going to say People Under the Stairs
Okay. Yeah.
because the kid is basically frogging. If you've seen that movie, he's the guy that's running in the walls and everything like that. Kind of unsettling.
Yes.
This, I have to say before we get into this one more time, I have when I was working at the hospital one night, there was a woman who came in and she was on an emergency cert, which for our listeners, that essentially means that there was a clinician out in the field with the police or the fire department, and they decided that this person was presented imminent risk to themselves or others. They were in a state of psychosis. So they had to come to the hospital and they had to stay, and we were going to have to evaluate them there to make sure that that's true. So this person's on essentially deemed, I mean, I don't want to say like psychotic, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why they were deemed psychotic is because she kept calling the police saying, "I think there's someone living in my house with me and I don't know what to do about it and I'm freaking out." And this person had a trauma history, and so like their symptoms that were like hypervigilant and the trauma symptoms were starting to look a lot like paranoia. And if you came to the house and she was saying to you, I think people are living in the walls. I think someone's living in my attic. All these things, right? So she comes in there and she's trying to explain to the police, but they wouldn't really like listen to her and they wouldn't really have it. And when she got to us, we kind of slowed down. We're like, all right, well, let's like, because the first thing you want to do is make sure before you keep someone in against their will is that like whatever people are saying about them is true. So thankfully that
Right.
happens. All
Right.
right. So, we were doing our due diligence and I'm sitting there and I'm talking with her and I'm like, well, is someone living in your, because of course we bend towards this kind of stuff because we're talking about this kind of stuff all the time. And she says yes, and she's like, you need to talk to this boy. And she was embarrassed to say it. She's like, because she was from a traditional family, she was came here from different countries going to Brown University. And she's like, I slept with this guy and he was there and he knows about it too, and he, I think, was taking pictures of like, or like filming sounds. And so she goes and we kind of find this guy, we get his contact, we get him to come in, and he shows us his phone. And not only does he have pictures, he has a video of when he was sleeping over. He went upstairs and he ran out of the house because he saw someone in the attic living there. And he got the hell out of there. And he was so embarrassed about it. He just got out of there, scared, never met this girl before in his life. He's like, I gotta get the hell out of here. Bad move, whatever, crappy guy. But in the end, this poor woman had been dealing with this situation in her own home where she was almost feeling like she was going insane because could there someone really be living here without me knowing about it? And that's frogging. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the act of someone secretly living in your house, a rental property, or even you know, your private home, the
Was
place
this
where you
her
live.
private home?
This was her private home. Now,
And
obviously,
did
this person doesn't have consent, and the person who lives there doesn't have knowledge. They live in the attics, they live in the crawl spaces. It's just unauthorized
do you have
occupancy.
any like follow up to that story of what ended up happening?
So yes, we had that very night released her from that cert. I had the emergency room doctor watch that video with me. We did all the paperwork to make sure that that was over with, and then we had the police escort her home and and clear her house for her, and showed them like, hey, look, you guys brought this person here saying they're crazy. Why not at least check it out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like someone saying there's something in my house, like, and the only thing I'll say in their defense is she appeared very paranoid, but that's because she had this, history of trauma, which I won't get into, but like a pretty extensive history of trauma. So she appeared very sort of skittish and maybe over the top, paranoid, but that's just because
Did the police find the person or was the person not there when they got there?
they weren't there when they got there. So, but they ended up like the landlord helped her seal everything up and everything. But it was right here. It was right here in
Oh, she
Providence.
she was renting the property.
She was renting, yes. Hmm.
It was actually the landlord.
Yeah,
Plot
gotcha.
plot twist.
You're right. So I mean, it's So there's some people can hear this and be like, "Oh yeah, squatters." Dave, that's not what we're talking about here, right?
No, actually, I think the difference between frogging and squatting is all about intention.
Mm,
So squatting, as some may know, is kind of like this long term thing, and I think like you like openly reside in the place. For some, you might even like actually get a bill like directed
hmm
to the place, and the intention there is to probably to like obtain squatters rights, which
hmm
basically gives you some rights to the property that you actually have no rights to, but you've been living there or residing there for so long that now you actually get some rights, and you get a bill sent there, so that's like another proof of residency, I guess you would say. And it gives, and like over a period of time, and every state I think has different laws around
Yeah, there are
squatting
some
and stuff like
interesting
that.
laws around squatting where you're able to kind of like move in. Like
Yeah,
the
pretty
Ninja
much.
Turtles moving into that sewer system is squatting.
Pretty much, yes.
You know,
Yeah,
they don't, it doesn't belong to them. No one's really
right.
using it.
Like if you had a summer house and you just never went, and someone went in your like while you were never there, over time they could possibly get squatters rights, I believe. I don't know that,
Yep.
you have to look up the laws in your state if you're interested in doing so, so go ahead and do that. But the difference between that and frogging is, frogging, the intention is different. It's not about getting squatters rights, it's not about claiming rights to a property. It's about being hidden and secret. It's not long term. It's, it's maybe a short term thing. I'm sure there's cases that contradict that, but it's more about this like invasion of privacy
Yeah.
piece, or, just going into a space that you're not supposed to, more for the sake of the fact that you're not supposed to,
Yeah, there's a
then,
peeping Tom sort of
or just
aspect of
like
this.
I can do this, right?
Mm.
I'm going to go in this space because I know I can, or something like that.
So
So yeah, it's different.
it is different. And why does it happen? Well, opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And people are looking for ways to live for free. That's one thing. That's kind of leaning towards squatters. This is a little bit different. Homelessness can be a factor though. Like,
Yeah.
obviously leading people to seek shelters and occupied homes rather than vacant ones. There's a lot of benefits towards that.
And that's kind of what I mean. It's not only about like a peeping tom voyeurism thing. For
Mm.
some, they might just literally be trying to, find shelter for the night or for a period of time.
Yeah, so if someone's already living in that house, there's going to be certain things. There's going to be heat. When the people leave, there's going to be access to food. There's going to be all kinds of,
Yeah.
things that you almost like take over the house when they're gone. But there is that level of stalking or obsession that is part of this too. And when we get into some of these narratives, we're going to have a few like little stories that talk about this. But
And Greg, I think you just also highlighted another example of how squatting and frogging is different. It's one, in frogging, almost always there's people within the space.
mm,
Squatting doesn't have to. Like I said, like people who own the space, or it could be like more of like a, town owned space, or people in the sewers, and or the subway systems and
mhm,
things like that. Like it's
the mole
it could
people.
be those kind of like that kind of occupancy, but it's not like people living in the house while you're squatting as well, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's more of a transparency to squatting.
Yeah.
It's less insidious, I think.
In some ways
And
it'd be less like shameful to admit, hey, I'm just squatting, versus
oh
i'm
yeah,
i'm frogging.
no one's using it. What the hell, right? And it's like, yeah, all right,
Yeah.
I get that. I'd much rather, associate with the squatting crowd
Yeah.
than the frogging crowd,
Right, right.
you know? Actually, there's this one thing, it's just reminding me of before I even ever thought of this, there was the story of a girl that was, she was a college kid and um, you would hear strange noises at night because that's one of the signs of frogging is like strange noises, like creaks and rustling. And you always kind of dismiss that stuff if you're in the house sleeping, right? You're always like,
Yeah.
that's a
Yep.
squirrel, that's my house settling, whatever that means. There's all kinds of, explanations for that. But one day she woke up and there were on her pillow just a bunch of Polaroids of her sleeping.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just
So,
realized, if anyone out there has ever seen the movie Black Christmas, the original from the 70s or the remake from the 2000s, that's all about frogging. Billy is living in the attic of a sorority, and he's prank calling the sorority house, while he's in there, and, watching them and things like that.
it's crazy
When a
stuff.
stranger calls,
When a stranger calls.
the the movie with the girl babysitting and the person's in the house, that's frogging in some way.
That's Scream too, in a sense, but not really living, just there.
There it is. Yeah.
Um, Unexplained changes. So like these are more like signs that maybe you're being frogged. Is that the verb? So doors or windows unlocked or open when you're like, could have sworn I shut that window, or I could have sworn I shut that shower curtain, right? Things out of place. Who ate my Doritos? Like these kinds of things. So like you're gonna see like missing food. Who ate my who ate my sandwich, my leftovers, right? The utility bills could spike. Like typically you would see increased energy usage because when you're not there, they're going to be, using it more.
Right.
If you have pets, that could be a beautiful thing. This could be a reason to get pets because they might be agitated or they might sense some things off before you do. Also, Dave, here's something I don't want to limit as like, it sounds silly, but the feeling of being watched, like
Mm.
this unsettling feeling that you're not alone in your home, that like relying on your gut is probably an important thing because as we've talked about 1,000 times, your unconscious mind is a lot more active and using a lot more of your brain than the conscious part of your mind, a lot more. And maybe it's picking up on something that you're dismissing somehow or explaining away. So I don't know. I mean that's a possibility, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
Dave,
Greg, go ahead and tell us, like, if I'm being frogged, what should I do?
well, don't call the police because they'll send you to the hospital. No, I'm just kidding. You should secure unused spaces. I mean, as we continue to talk about this, just like what was happening to you, images of frogging come to my mind. Like, I think this is more of a common thing than you would think of. I remember when I had my first apartment, we went down to the basement to do laundry, and there was like a lawn chair set up with like food and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, someone like lives in the dirt basement. Like, this kind of stuff happens. So lock those attics, lock those basements and those crawl spaces,
Even
and maybe.
if you live in like a shared building, it's even more
Mm,
reason to make sure that like that shared door entranceway is secured at times. Because I know some people can be, lazy with that, or I even actually did like a house visit to an individual recently, and I like buzzed up to their floor, and they're like, "Oh, the door is open." Not their door, but like the building door. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't just
it's
assume that.
yeah,
It's
like I don't. Is it common? Probably more in like urban. I'm sure, right?
yeah, and I mean that's kind of where I was. Even though like when I lived in a little bit of an urban area, we always made sure our main door was locked. But I think that was just because I was like always thinking,
You know, it's
what if
funny
someone comes in
because
the building?
I'm thinking I live in a similar building kind of thing, and we always had that main door that kind of like led to all apartments. It was always unlocked.
It was unlocked. Yeah, I
I
think
don't
that's
even think
I
it's ever
actually think
locked.
that's probably a lot more common than I ever realized. But
Yeah,
yeah, my
just
see when
what?
I
Come
did
on in.
my door to my apartment was so flimsy, so it was very present in my mind that like if someone gets in my building, they're getting in my apartment pretty easily. They're
Yeah.
just doing one elbow into my door and they're
Oh,
in. Like,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
the doors to our apartments were basically like my bathroom door now.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So monitor your utilities and be aware of your surroundings. Like, I think, Dave, unusual noises are one thing, smells, and just kind of changes in your home. Like what was that? I mean, it sounds silly, but being cognizant of this stuff, being aware of this stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, it does happen, right?
Yeah.
So, and listening to your intuition is a huge part of that. If there's this persistent feeling something's amiss, maybe there's not. I mean, because that happens too. Maybe it's just existential dread, but maybe it is, maybe or maybe someone's in your basement in a lawn chair. Who knows?
Right.
So, when should you contact the authorities? When you feel unsafe, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
guess it's a
that's
safety thing when if you
yeah.
feel like, I have, or if you have some like more concrete evidence to leading to the versus like just, I mean, calling over an intuition might not go over the best,
No,
but I mean, you could have other people hopefully that you can call before you call the police.
that's a good point.
Right. So like if I get a feeling and I want to check it out, but I don't feel safe checking it out myself, I should probably phone a friend. I'll call Greg
Phone a
over
friend.
and Greg will be like, I ain't going in there.
I'm not. There's someone's frogging in here for sure.
Yeah,
I got a gut feeling from here.
I'm
So
gonna.
I think what we could do is, grab that flashlight and just kind of really go together and take a
I was
peek
talking
around.
about this with someone recently. In movies when the character goes and does like the investigative work like that,
Hmm.
like they grab a flashlight and they do it. And I'm always like, you yell at the screen, you're like, that's so stupid. But how many times have you ever done that in the middle of the
Of
night,
course,
gone
of
downstairs and
course.
like, yeah, so have I. So I'm like, it's stupid when you're watching on movies, but like also I've done that stupid thing. I
Hmm.
maybe won't, I probably wouldn't. No, I've actually left my house. I've gone outside.
I've gone outside too, and probably in boxers with like my iPhone flashlight.
Yeah. Oh, always an iPhone flashlight. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I keep a little pocket knife next to my bed.
Oh, nice,
It's
dude.
not gonna do anything other than make
No.
me feel a little braver. And I
You're
bring
just
that
giving them
outside.
something to stab you with.
All right, so really quick, there was a voice, a really
Ooh.
like low voice, and it just kept talking and talking. And I was like, where is that coming from? So I actually went outside with my flashlight and my little pocket knife, and I'm like, I can still hear the voice, and it's a little louder as I'm outside. And I'm walking around my house. And then I got that thought of like the thing I think in movies too is like, oh my God, what if while I was out here, they went in my house?
Hmm.
And then I panicked about that. And then I was like, is it coming from my basement? I actually wouldn't go in my basement. I was like, if they're
Wow.
in my basement, I'm dead. So
You just
I'll
lock the
just
door
wait.
and they
It
can
turned
have
out
it.
it was like coming from a Dollar Tree, which is like down the road, and it was their alarm system, which actually
But
didn't make
it's
me feel a whole lot better because I was like,
but it
someone
sounded
tried
like a
breaking.
voice though.
It is. It was like the alarm has set off. The
Ah,
police will be on their way or
yes.
something like that. It was like warning the person. I was like, actually, that makes me feel zero safer because
Hmm.
that person probably ran away and they're scrambling the neighborhoods looking for a place to hide. And I was like, they're
Yep.
gonna come to my house and murder me because they
And you're the
broke
only
into a
one that left
Dollar
the door
Tree.
wide open.
Yes. So that's my frogging story that never happened.
So, should we get into a couple frogging stories?
Let's frog away.
All right. So, a homeowner in Oklahoma City kept hearing strange noises coming from his attic in February 2020. The man thought squirrels had somehow managed to get inside the house. It's always like something like that. Concerned about the damage the animals would do if left unchecked, he climbed up to investigate. Because we all do this, Dave, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't squirrels in the crawl space. It was an adult man lying on a mattress. So, like, the horrified owner holds this man up at gunpoint and calls the police. See, he had guns, so that's a whole different ballgame. Cops rushed to the house and arrested the man. Upon investigating, the homeowner discovered that the unwanted house guest had used an outdoor staircase to access the attic. And once he climbed up there, he settled into an old mattress and kind of made himself like a little living room, which is, how
Adorable.
surprised are you when you climb up those stairs thinking you're going to see a bunch of squirrels in a pile of nuts, and there's a guy just laying on the mattress like, hey, ooh.
Yeah, I did. I love the idea. Like he just rolls over and goes, "Hey, you."
Yeah, just what a strange, strange feeling for everybody.
Does that make you uncomfortable?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right. The next one. A family in Mount Juliet, Tennessee was shocked to find an 18-year-old man living in their attic in June of 2019. The man, identified as Matthew Casto, snuck into the house undetected and lived there for some time. That ended abruptly one day when a woman living in the home saw Casto at the top of the second floor stairs. He panicked and ran into a bedroom. By the time police arrived, he had climbed back into the attic through a crawl space. The cops soon learned why he was there. The man had allegedly been living there for a while, sneaking down at night to be with the family's 14-year-old daughter. Casto quietly moved up and down through a small door in the girl's bedroom closet. Court documents claim that the girl was known to police and uh, he had run away before. She was reportedly the subject of wait of unruly child investigations in the Tennessee town. Castro was charged with aggravated criminal trespass for his pursuit of the girl. Oh, okay. So it was
So
talking
they don't
about
even
the girl's
so he's
background.
18 and she's 14 and he's sneaking down to
Why
sleep
are
with her.
they? But why are they even mentioning her background? Like this is a him
I
thing.
know. Like this, I know, right? Like so, unruly child. I mean, dude, she's 14 and some guy's fucking like
He's
crawling out of
18.
her
Yeah, he's
closet.
illegal. That's illegal.
Ugh,
Matthew Casto.
man, they should Matthew
Wait,
castrate
he was
him.
aggravated criminal trespass. What about like? statutory or something like that.
Yeah, statutory something. I'll say it, rape, right? I mean, you're not supposed to
Yeah,
do that. Damn, dude, 14 years old.
man. And imagine
Unruly.
you're that parent that's
I
like
guess it's kind of unruly.
you're dreading your daughter growing up. Oh, she's gonna start dating, and then you realize she's actually had an 18-year-old living in
I
your
know.
house the whole
Not
time.
only is she gonna start dating, she keeps her own private man in the
Oh
attic.
boy,
Yikes.
Greg. Yeah, that to look forward to.
Glad I have four boys. So on to the next one. In November of 2021, a person driving on a street in Hopewell, Virginia, noticed a man coming out of the crawl space under a home. The man had a backpack and a pillow with him. Suspicious about a possible break-in, the driver called the police. When officers showed up, the man was gone. Cops took a closer look in the crawl space and found cigarette butts in food wrappers. For homeowner Casey Falls, it all suddenly made sense. Falls tells the media outlets that her 4-year-old had been waking up in the middle of the night, complaining of strange noises for several weeks. Nobody in the family smoked, and yet they had found cigarette butts strewn about the house. Falls believes that the mystery man had lived underneath their home for 2 to 3 weeks. Cops suspected he was homeless, but they never discovered his identity. So they never found this guy, which is even creepier. Here's this little girl saying, I saw a man. Like maybe like this is a ghost situation, right? The parents
Yeah,
like, what the hell is going on here? They're finding cigarette butts all over the place. It's like this is really creepy stuff. Really creepy stuff.
yeah.
Like who's like how do they just let that go? Well, I guess someone's smoking, but they're just not telling us. Maybe it's the
I
four-year
bet
old
one of them, someone in the house used
like
to
used to or
smoke,
something.
and they're like, "Oh, they must be smoking again."
It's
Something like
causing
that.
fights. You can like picture this whole thing like playing out. Like the I know you're smoking again. I am not.
You're
I
hiding
am
it.
not. Our daughter's
Yeah.
seeing ghosts. This is stressful. I
Uh,
mean,
all right. Here's a good one. So Mauricio Damian Guerrero became obsessed with an OnlyFans model after finding her online. At first,
mhm.
his stalking was limited to the digital world, but in 2022, he had discovered her home address in New Hampshire. The 20-year-old even reportedly managed to steal the woman's keys. Once he accessed her house, he snuck up to the attic, and there he would wait quietly up until the middle of the night. When the woman was asleep, he crept into her room to film her. The woman's mother first noticed something was wrong after hearing strange sounds from the attic. Police investigated. In February, they arrested the man as he climbed out of the attic onto the home's roof. On his phone, cops found videos of the woman that he had been recording as she slept. He admitted into to entering her home at least 4 times, and he also told detectives that he intended to put a tracking device on her car. Cops charged him with 4 counts of burglary, but he was bailed out of jail before trial, and the woman was granted a restraining order against him. See, this is the part that's really like getting me here.
What's that?
Some of these responses sound mild.
I know.
It's
Because like well, I think there's like law that the laws around frogging aren't very stringent. I think maybe because it seems to be so rare, but maybe it's not as rare as people think, and there needs to be like stronger enforcement of this kind of
it's
thing.
it because it is like a safety thing, and they're treating it as
Absolutely.
if they're treating it more like trespassing and stealing, but it's a safety concern because I get it, like the person is, in some of these cases there maybe it's maybe not so malicious towards the people, but like that one, he's charged with burglary, but that's all about her. So where is the legal response about her safety? I get the restraining order, but what does that do? A restraining order is not helpful when someone's willing to like go around many laws in order to make something happen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a
And it's
dangerous
just
one.
like this like this violation of privacy, this there isn't there's something there like and we'll talk about the psychological effects right now, but like there's something that is darker and should be prosecuted more because it does affect someone's psychology and
Yeah.
and their well-being, maybe forever, right?
Yeah. Let's
So,
talk a little bit about that. What are some of the
okay, yeah.
effects?
So it can cause significant trauma, obviously, anxiety, depression, PTSD. And there's these feelings of violation and shattered assumptions about personal safety, which is hugely important. They experience paranoia, mistrust of their environment and judgment, difficulty sleeping, And symptoms resembling, Dave, for your enjoyment, a haunting. So leading to a sense of fear, vulnerability, and in a place. And that's the thing too. A place where you should feel at home and secure, your house, you feel insecure and vulnerable. That's messed up.
Maybe
So
you can go into some of the pros of frogging on the victims. They get a
like
cool story.
what's good? Yeah, you do get a cool story. Company, they say
Oh,
that,
you're never alone. Yes.
yeah, the best thing about being human is, connection. That's a huge part of mental health. So you've got
Wow.
that built in. So, yeah, I mean, PTSD, that's obvious why that's going to happen, right? I mean,
Oh, I can only imagine the PTSD that comes out of this because imagine ever feeling secure after
it's going
somebody
to be hard.
violates you in your safe space, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of like the shattered assumptions piece that this event shatters your beliefs about the world and others and oneself. And that's something that's basically the recipe for trauma, right? Like what you thought was safe, what you thought you knew about the world and your environment is just completely untrue.
Or the exact opposite for those people who go around saying like, "Oh, only bad stuff happens to me," or "Only this crazy stuff
Hmm.
happens to me," and then that happens, and they're like, "Yeah, only bad stuff
Hmm.
happens to me," because
See,
like, how
told
many
you.
people get frogged, and I did, right?
Yeah, not
It
many.
affirms that negative core belief.
Somebody could be listening to this podcast right now, being frogged. Someone could be frogging listening to this podcast.
They're listening to it in someone's walls.
Yeah.
My God, yeah, that is why I do it. They nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anxiety, depression, paranoia. I mean, because paranoia is so obvious because the judgment of your environment is gone, and so this feeling of safety is probably going to be gone forever, right? And you're like, well, if
Yeah.
somebody could be in my walls, then where else could they be? Is this constantly happening? It's just like really distressing, and I would say lack of sleep is going to be a huge component too. You'd probably want to sleep during the day.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's just terrible.
So,
So why, Dave, why is
Greg,
it so like
I wanted to
traumatizing?
hold on one second. I just wanted to say something. So, because you brought up kind of an interesting, like, quick thing.
Hmm.
This show reaches like thousands of people. In a month, we reach thousands and thousands of people.
Hmm.
I guarantee you a small portion of these people have been frogged.
Oh yeah.
Like we're saying it kind of jokingly, but at this point of this show, with the amount of people we reach, there is 1000% frogging victims or froggers
Hmm.
listening.
One or the other.
And I need to hear your stories.
Yeah.
Please
Yes,
message
please.
us, email us, utgnpodcast@gmail.com, or on our social media. Please tell us your stories if you will
We
be
want to
so
hear it.
vulnerable. I am so curious. And if you're willing to let us share your story, we can make it anonymous. That would be amazing. That's a
Hmm.
bonus episode right there.
Right, absolutely.
All right. Just had to say that
Dave, why is it so traumatizing?
for everything that you just said, you know?
Yeah, you're right.
uh,
Well, it violates your sanctuary.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That was what I was going to say.
You know what, Dave? It keeps mentioning this like haunting
I,
vibe,
I don't,
and
I don't, I get it, but I don't get it because haunting is different. It's different.
well, I don't know. Think about it though, like unexplained sounds,
All right.
misplaced
I've never
items,
been like, oh my God, that ghost saw
noises.
me naked versus like this intruder has
Mm,
seen me naked and I feel so violated.
that's true.
Like a ghost,
Actually,
I care more about my cat seeing me naked than a ghost.
I don't want to.
I don't want
I've
my
thought
pet
about a
seeing
ghost
me,
seeing me naked.
but I don't want
Would
my
it go?
pet seeing me naked. Like when they stare at you and you're like naked, like
Yeah, that's a
stop it.
weird thing. Yeah, please stop that.
But now it's
But I
like
don't know.
a
I feel like
person.
I feel like you could think that your house was haunted or you're losing your mind if you're
I mean, you
experiencing
could if
this,
you believe in that stuff, yeah. Or
right?
even if you don't believe in that stuff, it might make you believe in that stuff.
Absolutely. Or people
My
may have
mind
been
immediate,
frogged. How many ghost stories are just frogging stories?
right? My mind immediately goes though to it's a person in my house versus haunting. It taps into
Hmm.
that fear I have of like home invasion type stuff.
Oh, you do have a fear of that, yeah.
100%, yeah. So
So
I
if
go
this
right to
happened to
that.
you,
Yeah,
if you went down to your basement and there was a guy in there or being, then you're gonna have a whole new level. You're gonna become paranoid, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. If it turned out to be a ghost, I would be like, phew. It's a
Thank
ghost.
God.
I was worried you were a real person.
They're like, no, okay, let's not do the
Like
ghost jokes.
currently, not
Yeah.
in the past, right? Sorry to offend you.
Dave, is this picking up? Is this on the uptick? Is frogging on the
You
rise
know,
or
it might be, and there's various reasons that could be the case.
okay.
And I think actually I think you'll agree with me. These are pretty valid reasons of why there might be an uptick in frogging, and some of it's real, and some of it may be just perceived. The first, obviously, we get way more exposure to a variety of things because of the internet and social media and just the way we consume information in today's
Hmm.
day and age. Like we're literally just constantly pumping ourselves with information. And yeah, this stuff becomes way more normalized, I guess, or it turns into like, hey, I want to give that a try. And also there's a community for everything and there's like a how to for everything on the internet. So if anybody's looking for people who maybe have done this, they'll probably find them on the internet somewhere. Or if you wanted to know tips about how to do this and how to do it appropriately or like effectively, it's probably on the internet as well. And we're not going to promote where to find it, but I'm sure you could find it if you actually
Yeah.
look for it. So I actually think that's probably a pretty good explanation. And actually I'll wait till the end to kind of explain why. Another reason why that could be is like obviously we all know the high costs of housing and living is causing a lot of homelessness and that's causing people to take creative measures into finding housing and shelter and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
we had Greg, I don't know if you remember, but like last year or the year before, we had that woman who was living under the overpass right around the corner from our work. She was like in the median. And I was
Yes.
there the day that the police kind of confronted her. I was driving by and I watched them confront her and tell her to leave. But I was like, she set up a whole little camp right in the median of our, I guess that's a highway, but not. It's like kind of just
They
more of
just
a
removed
like,
a guy this past weekend from Orm Street. If people know down by the Marriott,
yeah,
there was a guy that set up like right outside the highway. I mean, he had like literally pictures hanging up
yeah,
on
yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
it's
I mean, it's they are pushing people out, which I get why, because people are getting a little more brazen with where they're doing things. But like at the same time, it's like, well, where do they go though? And I
where'd they
think
go?
that leads to people taking these more desperate measures, or maybe just being a little bit more willing to do things that are illegal or
Yeah.
violating to people. Um, Here's another big thing: increased security. Everybody's got a freaking ring camera. Everybody's got, cameras on their houses or in their houses. Definitely in their houses nowadays is a big increase. So I think it's actually probably more of the case that people are getting caught more
Hmm.
often
More
than
reports.
more reports of it. And that we see that all the time. It's like when this is terrible to say, but like child abuse allegation or reports got decreased during COVID because kids weren't going to school and the teachers weren't
Oh, that's
finding.
wicked sad.
It's sad, but it's true,
Yeah.
right? Like
It makes sense. Yeah, it
those
makes perfect
stats went
sense.
down for a period of time. It wasn't because it wasn't happening, it just wasn't being reported. So for this, it's the opposite. It's probably being reported more. And the last is like everybody's looking for adrenaline rushes.
Yeah.
So you hear about this thing, and it's like, I want to do that. I want to feel that. And like people want thrills and things like that.
Yeah, how many movies is that a scene, Dave, where like that you have to go get someone out of someone's house and they're in there and like you gotta die, you gotta hide behind the maybe you just hide behind the drapes real quick and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
jump out the window.
Right.
That's in like so many like it's such a pop culture reference. And it's because there is sort of this like, I don't know, excitement to that, right?
And and Greg, I as I was like looking into this, I was like, oh wow, so much of this kind of parallels that whole hobby that I was doing for a pretty decent amount of time of like urban exploring. So
Hmm.
going into abandoned places and taking photos. You're infiltrating in some
Hmm.
ways. You're doing it for thrills. Maybe the intention is different because going there because of like it was for photography, so it's to. But
Right.
like, not gonna lie, there's so many people who do that hobby that are actually probably doing it more because of like the feeling around it, right?
Right.
And
And like you're in a space that maybe you shouldn't be.
right,
It's
right.
it's it's like how much I guess, that's what drove people to expand the globe, this sense of exploration. And that's kind of like how where
Well,
do you have that?
100%. And it
Yeah.
actually brought me to like this one facility I did years and years ago. and it was like an active facility with abandoned. It was a hospital, a psychiatric hospital down south, and it was an active facility, but with an abandoned couple of abandoned buildings on it.
Mm.
So in order to get into there, you had to literally duck past people, and that was kind of
That's
like frogging.
yes, it's exactly like frogging.
Like
It's
I
like
literally waited for a car to drive by, and then
that's why when you were kids, you wanted to be like a spy, or you wanted to
yeah,
be like, you know what I mean? It's there. There is this drive, weird sort of impulse towards that, which is kind of
right.
interesting. Are we gonna be
So,
froggers?
you know, and then there's less creepy cases, and they're kind of go more into what I was just talking about with like the urban exploration piece of it. So there is this whole part of it, as we mentioned, it's more of like I'm going to do this because I think I can do this,
Hmm.
and I know it's illegal, but I feel like I have a plan here that could probably get around the system, and I think that's a piece of it too, getting around the system, and maybe that would be more for frogging in like public access spaces versus like
Yes.
a personal home. And Rhode Island actually has a very, very well known case of this that recently got a documentary film that was produced by the actor Jesse Eisenberg, whom many will know from the
Really?
Social Network. Yep, this was his second documentary film, I think, that he produced. So we're talking, of course, about the frogging that happened at the Providence Place Mall, aka the secret apartment. And this was Rhode Island art teacher Michael Townsend. Um, he and some of his friends, I guess, created a plan to reclaim some empty industrial space and turn it into like a clubhouse of sorts, which we ended up calling apartments, but it doesn't sound like he was actually like living there. Is more like a place to hang and like
Hmm.
claim to his own, and maybe an art space of some sort in some ways. But kind of infiltrating the space. And when we built the Providence Place Mall in 2003, which actually that kind of boggles my mind that it was built not, it doesn't seem like that long ago, actually, when you say 2003, because it's
Hmm.
been there for so long, it feels like. But he was ended up in, who was informed that his residence at a mill building was going to be torn down as part of a revitalization for the capital city. And when he did this, he kind of, when this happened, he came up with this plan to claim his own space, I guess. Maybe it was a little out of spite.
Yeah.
And like I'm gonna kind of get back at the system. Maybe that had something to do with it. But he noticed that when they were building the mall, there was this space in the mall that he couldn't figure out what exactly it was going to be used for.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of boggled his mind. So they decided to investigate it, and then they found this wide open space that was just kind of like this anomaly in the structure during the building. So they gained access through an unlocked door in the back of the mall, and they discovered like stairwells and crevices all leading them to this little area that turned into their hideout. And they smuggled furniture and equipped it with electricity via an extension cord plugged into the mall. And they even smuggled enough cinder blocks so that they could make their own wall and then install a door in that wall, a locked door. It was pretty ingenious. And he also, like, I think because he knew that he was violating this space, and he also had this other side to him that would kind of like try to pay back even a little bit, even if it's kind of silly. But when he would spend like significant amounts of time there and they utilized the electricity, he'd actually like put $20 in an envelope and say thank you for the resources and slide it under the mall office doors.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
this was
What does $20 do though? I don't think
right,
much.
right, not much, but it's just his little I actually made it might even been rubbing it in the face a little bit, who knows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um but they utilized the space on and off for 4 years without getting caught, even with like all the security cameras and everything like that. They just learned the systems of the mall. They learned like when was the best time to enter, people like when people leave from the stores. We have a movie theater in that mall, so it actually does stay open pretty late, which is helpful. But he did say that most of the stuff they did happened in broad daylight because that's when you don't expect crime to be happening. um Eventually, two security guards who actually had used the space a few times notified their supervisor. And even though the Providence police ended up finding it kind of humorous, he was charged with misdemeanor trespassing, and he received a suspended sentence and was banned from ever entering the mall again, which I think has been revoked now because of the publicity surrounding that documentary film and kind of like you know, it's brought a lot of attention to the mall, whether that be
It's
good
actually
or
a very cool
mostly good,
story.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, this is more of like a feel-good clubhouse story versus an insidious frogging story, which I like,
I
but
think they're actually like
it's
they
got
call him a
interest though.
hero. Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah, it's
actually
got
call
some
him a hero
interest to
because he
it.
figured out a system around the system, and I think we like those kind of stories,
Hmm.
even though I mean, what he did is, you know, illegal and kind of taking advantage of something. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm not mad at him, because
Yeah,
it's like that was unused space,
in many
and
ways, it's no
untapped
different
resource.
than the way we look at someone like Banksy or who's the Obey
Shepherd Ferry.
Shepherd Ferry, like
Yeah.
those guys. I know it's totally different, like what they're doing, but I mean, they're not supposed to be doing that. But when they leave those beautiful like murals or those thought provoking murals, no one's mad at the end. Like
Yeah.
you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, that's really cool.
It's
It
cool.
because it's art for a reason. And I think what he was identifying is like, here you are, like running us out of our homes, and yet there's these like wide open spaces that aren't even being utilized, and I don't even have housing, right? It's like he's kind of pointing out the obvious within their like greed plan, I guess, while they're trying to
Like
like,
greed and waste and
yeah,
for
they're trying to
what?
revitalize for what reason when this is like people's homes. I think that's kind of like a whole argument also with like
Gentrification.
gentrification, right?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to do an episode of that at some point. Like what, because on the surface, maybe someone, like me, like from, hanging out in suburbs, like, well, what's wrong with like
Cleaning up a
trying to make the
place.
city
Yeah, right.
safer and better and all these things, but it's like, well, like according to who is it better? And this is our community and you're tearing it down. It's like kind of, there's got to be some kind of and if there's money to put into the community, why not put it into the community instead of tearing,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Basically it is saying like we want a different class of people here.
Hmm.
That's essentially what they're saying, because
Yeah,
what ends up happening is the new plans for a new socioeconomic level of individual to be there, and not the current population that resides there. So,
which is really messed up.
because
And
where
and
did they
I
go? Yeah.
as I get older, I start to realize that as I see neighborhoods change in Providence from, even from, when I started as a mailman back in Providence, going on, I mean, 20 years ago, which is
Right.
crazy.
Right.
Um, but or over that. But do you see how much the neighborhood's changed? And I've just recently watched both on Hulu and Netflix documentaries on Katrina,
Mhm.
and you see a lot of this stuff where like what the Ninth Ward was and what it is now, and you've robbed its soul. It's almost like
Yeah.
you didn't allow for just that whole. I'm not even gonna like get into that because people should check out those documentaries because I learned so much about what really went on there and how ignorant I was to how what a travesty that whole thing was and how their own like people's own government sort of really turned their back on the people who made the city great. It sucks.
It is infuriating when you see some of these spaces and you're like, why aren't they investing more in the upkeep of this area versus like, hey, we're going to tear it down, going to lose its history, lose.
Yeah,
Visited New Orleans, I actually went into a like collapsing. Half of the school was collapsing, but had this beautiful auditorium in it that I was able to take some pictures of. I believe like Miles Davis actually had performed there, and
it's crazy.
this was gonna fall apart like within the next few years, and it was standing, but it's like it has such rich history of all like the musicians who had performed there, and nobody cares.
I'll tell you, that's something as like, I noticed when I was young and in the Navy traveling around like Europe, and that's something that they value. When we have like in America, it's like we have these flimsy new, sometimes glass, sometimes this, sometimes that, like buildings, and they preserve these 1,000-year-old structures, and there's just so much more value to it.
Yeah,
It's
there
just
is.
so much better. It's to me, I mean, and I'm just talking in terms of preserving history and not talking about like value systems of countries. I don't, that's
Right.
not something we do here. I'm talking about like we should there's something great about the bar in Newport because it was, it's from this late 1600s, and
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
people were talking in the late 1600s. It's
Right.
it's it's like sitting around these tables. There's something awesome about that. Why do you want to like knock that down? And like this craftsmanship and the work that people have put into these things, like this is really, where it's at. But I mean, that's just one guy's opinion.
No, I agree. Well, all right. Frogging. There it
Yeah,
is. And don't forget, if you frogged or been frogged, let us know. I want to hear that story. We don't have to share your name, but it would be super interesting for people to
with
hear.
Halloween coming, maybe it's not a ghost, maybe it's not a squirrel. Maybe it's a hairy homeless man laying on an old mattress in your attic. Check it out, smoking cigarettes.
Hey, hey, it's me.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to be here. I'll leave.
Mm.
I wonder when you get caught frogging if it's awkward for you.
It's awkward for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
Oh, sorry. I'll go.
You have to like pretend to be offended. Like, oh, what? Like, I didn't know. Oh, it's
The
just horrible.
the door was open.
Yeah. Oh, is
Billy
this
doesn't
your
live
house?
here. Yeah, Billy doesn't live here. He told me I could
Yeah.
come in anytime.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I used to live here when I was a kid. Something like that.
Yeah.
You gotta say something. Oh boy.
Oh boy. All righty. All right, everybody. And don't forget to come over to the Patreon. We talk about it every week. Don't make us look
Hmm.
foolish. Come on.
Yeah, please.
We already look foolish enough. Look at
Come on
us.
over. And rate and review on all social media platforms, please.
Oh,
Continue to
they
do that.
can't see how foolish we look because they don't see our video because they're not on Patreon. So come on Patreon and see how foolish we look. You'll love it.
Please.
You'll love it.
We should have
All
told
right.
you in the beginning because you're probably gone.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next weekend. Weekend? I don't know why I said that. Week.
Mm.
See you next week.
We'll see you
Tuesday.
next week.
Have a good
Yeah.
one. Bye, everyone.